Hello? Yeah, it's called Mysteries of Asia. Yeah, $50 million? Okay, we have a deal. Sorry guys, just talking to Netflix about my new show. We are working out a deal. Netflix might purchase this show. But in the meantime, I'll just present it to you guys on YouTube for free. Welcome to Mysteries of Asia with Sneaky Sushi. I got my real, absolutely real, non-plastic mic here. Got a typewriter. Very professional set we have going on here. I even got a fortune cap right here. Welcome to Mysteries of Asia, where we talk about unsolved mysteries in Asia, basically in Asia, Southeast Asia. Anything interesting, anything spooky, anything unsolved, we are here to talk about it and I'll present it to you for your enjoyment. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Today we're talking about the ghost ship of Malacca. Now this is a very famous story. I'm sure many of you have already heard of this story. The story of the ghost ship of the SS Orang Medan is a gruesome one. The entire crew, including the ship's dog, were found dead with their mouths wide open, eyes wide open, staring into the abyss. And yet there were no signs of what had been responsible for the crew's death. Very spooky. Why did they die like that with their eyes wide open? That's very spooky. This mic isn't even working. The Strait of Malacca is one of the biggest trade routes by sea in the world. This was where this supposed ghost ship was found. So the Strait of Malacca, it separates Malaysia and Indonesia and stretches for 890 kilometers. You can see here, it's just this narrow strip of ocean sandwiched between Malaysia and Indonesia. You can see that Singapore is right at the crust, at the precipice, at the end, a good location on the Strait of Malacca, which is why Singapore is one of the busiest ports in the world, and probably why we are also so rich, because we've got a good port located in a good location along the Strait of Malacca. Each year, nearly 120,000 boats pass through this narrow corridor, which is only 3 kilometers wide at its most narrow, making it a billion-dollar shipping superhighway. But this narrow corridor has a history so dark that it will leave you with nightmares. This stretch of sea is both horrifying and intriguing. And one of the most intriguing stories come from the SS Orang Medan. The story of the SS Orang Medan first appeared in the Dutch-Indonesian newspaper called The Locomotive in February 1948. So this is the publication that made this story famous. It is the publication that captured the world's imagination. So it stated that Dutch vessel SS Orang Medan was sailing along the corridor in 1948 when it supposedly sent out one last chilling message before it went missing. But according to this publication, The Locomotive, the ship sent out a distress call in the position 400 nautical miles southeast of the Marshall Islands in the Pacific Ocean. So at this time, it wasn't reported in the Strait of Malacca yet. This popular publication mentioned that the ship sank near Marshall Islands, and this was the SOS signal that was sent out. Very cryptic. So this SOS distress signal was sent by the SS Orang Medan, and it was received by US ships, the SS City of Baltimore and the SS Silver Star. The message said, "SOS from Orang Medan, we float. All officers including the captain dead in chart room and on the bridge. Probably whole of crew dead." Some Morse gibberish followed, and then the second and final message sent by a doomed radio operator was received. It simply said, "I die." Wow. Imagine being the operator sending that, like you know you're gonna die and you had to send that out. Is there even any point in sending out at that point? It's futile, right? You know you're gonna die, but that's pretty damn scary. So upon receiving the distress call, the Silver Star, SS Silver Star, the US ship, went to board the SS Orang Medan. However, to their horrifying dismay and discovery, all they found was a floating graveyard, where they saw all the crew having their eyeballs popped out of their sockets, mouth wide open and arms outstretched as if the corpses were trying to reach for help. Now, why were they doing that? I don't know. Why were their arms outstretched and what were they actually reaching for? That's quite a scary image to have. Imagine being a crew of the Silver Star and you board this mysterious ghost ship that sent out a distress call, and when you board the ship, all you find is zombies on the ship. Arms outstretched, eyes wide open, mouth wide open. What's more, there were no signs of injuries on the bodies and even on the ship. So the crew of the SS Silver Star found nothing that explained the situation and planned to hook up the ship to tow it to the nearest port. But before they could do this, a fire broke out in one of the cargo holds and the would-be rescuers evacuated back to their own ship. Shortly afterwards, they saw the SS Orang Medan explode and sink into the water, never to be seen again. How convenient, I must say. The entire evidence of SS Orang Medan just combusted into flames and sank to the bottom of the ocean. That's a little bit convenient that the evidence would just disappear like that. Here's an intriguing fact that many people have found, and it pertains to the very suspicious publications of the SS Orang Medan. And why do I say that? Because there were actually multiple reports and publication of the SS Orang Medan in separate newspapers, and they all mention the ship SS Orang Medan. However, each newspaper had some slight variations and differences in the details of what actually happened. We showed the very first publication, the Dutch newspaper, the one that publicized and made this story famous in 1948. In that story, it mentioned that the ship sank near Marshall Islands, as we saw. However, the same newspaper then updated the story and said that the ship actually sank in the Straits of Malacca. So this is where they changed the story. The tale had apparently originated from a surviving German crew member of the Orang who swam ashore to Towangi Atoll in the Marshall Islands. There, he told a story to a missionary who in turn told it to Silver Shirley of Italy. Mr. Shirley was the source of the story in the Dutch newspaper. The reason the crew member gave for the mystery was that the ship had been carrying an illicit load of sulfuric acid, and fumes escaping from the broken containers had overpowered the crew. It still doesn't explain why the crew was doing that though, like why were their mouths open? There have since been many other theories about what other top secret cargo the ship may have been carrying instead, being not long after the end of the Second World War. But there are also a few issues with the story. One being that there was no official registration for a ship named the Orang Medan. So SS Orang Medan, the name itself, was never officially registered to any ship. So that's very, very peculiar. If it was a real ship, wouldn't people be able to find documents of that ship? And two, while the Silver Star did exist, by 1948, it was renamed the SS Santa Cecilia, and more often to be seen around Brazil, not the Strait of Malacca. So is this publication even real? Why were the details so sketchy? Is it just poor journalism? And here we see even more reports of the SS Orang Medan. However, this was published in 1940, almost 8 years before the incident happened. So the SS Orang Medan was already talked about in 1940, 8 years before the Dutch newspaper. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Dutch newspaper was the one that made it famous. But upon further digging, we can actually find articles from 1940 talking about the very same ship, SS Orang Medan. Furthermore, the same ship was even reported in an English newspaper in the US in 1952. So similar stories, all reported in different timings, all years apart. All the articles mentioned different things. For example, one article mentioned that it was a steamship, another article mentioned that it was a freight ship. So the details are very... It's not... What's the word for it? It's not... Tak match, huh? What does tak match mean? The details don't... That's the word. But you get what I mean. So this is a map of the different locations where the ship was reported to have sunk. One said near Marshall Islands, one said near Solomon Island, and you can see that it is actually very far apart, almost the width of Australia itself. So I find it peculiar how the details can be so misaligned. Misaligned, the word is misaligned. I find it peculiar that the details can be so misaligned. And it was all published in newspapers. And now we go to the theories. If we look at my beautifully made theory board over here, Theory 1, poisoning by carbon monoxide. So this theory was proposed by a man, Vincent Gaddis. Gaddis puts forward the theory that an undetected smoldering fire or malfunction in the ship's boiler system might have been responsible for the shipwreck. Gaddis wrote a book about mysterious disappearance and unsolved shipping tragedies, disasters, and he talked about the SS Orang Medan, and he put forward that theory. Escaping carbon monoxide would have caused the deaths of all aboard, with the fire slowly spreading out of control, leading to the vessel's ultimate destruction. However, it still doesn't explain why the crew members died in that state. But it is quite a plausible theory. I don't really like this theory though. I have my own personal favorite theory, but we'll get to that later. Theory 2, smuggling gone wrong. You can see a picture of a dead man here. This is not an actual crew member, we just found a... Actually, where did you find this image?
Actually, it was just a lot of articles when they mentioned this same image was found.
So we basically copied other articles and put this image.
Yes.
We did not copy anything. This was, we found this ourselves. Actually, this is a real crew member. So theory 2, smuggling gone wrong. So some have hypothesized that the Orang Medan might have been involved in smuggling operations of chemical substances such as a combination of potassium cyanide and nitroglycerin, or even wartime stocks of nerve agents. Another theory is that the ship was transporting nerve gas, which the Japanese military had been storing in China during the war and which was handed over to the US military at the end of the war. No US ship could transport it as it would leave a paper trail. That's why they loaded it to a non-registered ship, the SS Orang Medan. That kinda makes sense. I mean, this did happen towards the end of the Second World War, so maybe they were just using this ship as a scapegoat to transport war chemicals, nerve agents. Some have theorized that the Medan was carrying a poorly secured cargo of illegal chemical agents that would have been banned by the 1925 Geneva Protocol. Theories claim that there was a market for illegal nerve gas and biological agents following the World War II, and the perfect way to move such illicit cargo was to hire an inconspicuous old steamer, aka the SS Orang Medan. The chemicals could later have come into contact with seawater, resulting in the explosion that sank the ship. But I'm curious, like the SS Silver Star members, when they boarded the Orang Medan, if there were actually poison gases, wouldn't the SS Silver Star crew members be affected as well? Wouldn't they also like die or report sickness? Theory 3. Attacked by Indonesian freedom fighters against a Dutch-owned asset / piracy. Pirate attack. The Indonesian National Revolution, also known as the Indonesian War of Independence, was an armed conflict and diplomatic struggle between the Republic of Indonesia and the Dutch Empire. Did I explain that well?
Basically, what happened was at that point, the Indonesians.
To summarize, and I did not ask my producer for an input. This theory suggests that because there was a war of independence in Indonesia, there were a lot of guerrilla attacks happening in the Strait of Malacca, and because the SS Orang Medan was a Dutch-owned asset, the theory is that Indonesian freedom fighters had an attack on the SS Orang Medan. And because the government wanted to cover it up and keep it a hush-hush operation, they basically covered up the story. That's why little traces and evidence of the SS Orang Medan could be found. I am very well researched, I know what I'm talking about, and I don't need extra help because I have researched this topic a lot. Welcome to Mysteries of Asia. This is the last theory. The ship never existed. Oh no. Mystery ship. This is not how the ship looked like. It didn't even have sails, but I think this is quite a cute picture. Maybe the Orang Medan is just an urban legend created by a certain someone in the 1940s. And maybe it just never existed and it never sailed. Maybe it could just be a folklore, a haunting ghost story that you would tell your children at night to warn them about the horrors of the sea, about pirates. Do you know anything about the Shirley guy? The guy, he's the one that told the story, right?
He's the guy that told the story to the
Dutch newspaper. He's the one that basically went about like spouting tales of this big story to newspapers, right? So he could be the one that's, bullshitting and just like wanting to tell a good story. Wants attention.
5 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
When people were digging into it, there were details that show that in the 1940s, the origins of those stories came from a hometown that is the same as Mr. Shirley.
It's quite in line with this theory that the SS Orang Medan didn't even exist because Mr. Shirley could just be a big mouth and just wanted his 5 minutes of fame, so he went around telling the story and he ran with it for years. That's just a theory, but it's very possible as well. However, I would like to propose a fifth theory, and it's my personal favorite theory or my own theory, that the crew members were abducted by aliens. That aliens actually abducted them and then they squeezed every DNA out of the crew member. That's why they were all like, no, stop, alien, sucked every DNA for studying human biology and they send them back down into the SS Orang Medan. I think that's the most plausible theory. I think aliens are real and they abducted the crew members of SS Orang Medan. Rest in peace if they even existed. Alien abduction. What do you guys think happened to the SS Orang Medan? Is it theory 1, 2, 3? I totally did a deep dive into this, not my producer. She didn't do anything. I did all the work. All these slides were made by me, not by anyone else. That's why I'm so well read and I did not ask for any assistance or help while presenting this story, as you guys saw. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. Let me know in the comments if you have any other mysteries or stories you want me to talk about. I gotta make another call to Netflix now. Trying to close this. Sorry, what? Yeah, you guys, fuck off. Bye. I would say $100 million. Then if it's $100 million, we can have a deal. Yeah? Okay, thanks Netflix.